Welcome to part 88 of a Simplex converted to a Great Western Railway Prairie Tank. This one's about securing the boiler bands to the boiler barrel and fitting an extra one around the firebox, then preparing for painting. The smoke box is bolted in place on the chassis and ready to receive the boiler after I painted it. The only problem I can see is the actual fitting of the boiler, because normally you would paint the boiler and fit it to the chassis. The front part of the boiler is quite a snug fit in the smoke box. That is not a problem. The way this engine's been designed, there is an issue, and the issue is the balancing pipes on the side tanks are going to be in the way. If I fit the boiler and then put the superstructure on, the two pieces of pipe that stick out from the side tanks on the inside surface are going to scratch the boiler. I think I'm going to need an extra pair of hands to fit this boiler. First of all, I'm going to fit the running boards. Then I'm going to place the superstructure and the boiler in place in one go. And that will be after I fit the silicone rubber tubing between the balance pipes on the two tanks. First of all though, I have to prepare the boiler ready for a coat of paint. But even before I do that, I need to fit an extra boiler band around the firebox area. This little job is more tricky than it would first appear because the boiler banding needs to clip underneath the cladding at the firebox end. First of all though, I'm going to tackle the problem at the front of the boiler. It's very easy to dislodge the first boiler band. My solution to this problem was to remove the boiler band, coat it in Loctite 603 and refit it, and now it's not going anywhere. When I fitted this front boiler band using some Loctite 603, I had to be fairly quick before the Loctite 603 set. Although you can't see what I'm doing, I'm using the edge of the ruler to make some adjustments because at one side the boiler band needed to be moved forward. Here you see me checking the position of the boiler band using a ruler across the front. Eventually I persuaded the boiler band to be in the correct position and tightened the bolt at the bottom which clamps it together, so I think this is sort of permanently fixed. It's been a while since I made the boiler wrapper for this boiler and it was a bit dusty. And also in a couple of places were some marks, so now it's time to sand down the boiler wrapper, and for this I'm using quite coarse emery cloth and I'm not forgetting to sand down the boiler bands too. Brass does not like being painted, so it's a good idea to key the brass as well as you can. Under high magnification I'm actually making a lot of grooves in the brass, and this gives a larger surface area to allow the paint to stick better. It's also important to remove every trace of the Loctite 603 from around the band. The time has come to fit the extra boiler band around the firebox. I bent one end of the boiler band like this, then I bent it a bit more, and then using a hammer I flattened it, so it's really bent now. This allows it to hook under the wrapper and hold itself in place, but that's only at one side. I did a similar thing at the other side. Here I'm marking the position where the bend needs to be, but before bending it I shortened the boiler band so this was only quite a small hook at this end. I used a small pair of pliers to force it under the wrapper. Then to protect the boiler I tapped it into place over a steel rule. This prevents any damage to the boiler. This boiler band ended up being quite a tight fit. I don't think it's going to come loose because the paint's going to help it stick in place anyway. Time for a bit more emery cloth rubbing down, and after a while the boiler looks like this. I think I've got most of it. The next part of the job is to remove all the bits, and I've actually run out of panel wipe, so I used gun wash, which is cellulose thinners, to just wipe the boiler and remove any particles created by the emery cloth. At this point I'm being quite careful not to touch the boiler and put greasy handprints on it. It's time now to mask off the bits that I don't want to paint. There's not a lot I can actually say about masking, so I will tell you what I did yesterday. I had a really interesting couple of hours having a look around the York Model Engineers Club. I was shown round by a man called Richard Gibbon, and not only was I very impressed by the facilities and the track at the York Model Engineers Club, I was impressed with Mr. Richard Gibbon. I noticed when Richard sent me an email that he had quite a few letters after his name, and also he used to be the Chief Mechanical Engineer at the NRM, the National Railway Museum. After having a really good look around the site and walking the track, under the expert guidance of Richard, I decided that yes, this is the club for me, and asked if I could join. After having a really good look around the track and the facilities, I gave Richard a lift home because he'd walked to the track from where he lives. Richard showed me around his home workshop and gave me a fleeting glimpse of some rather magnificent engines under the bench. He introduced me to his wife too, and I was shown the collection of textile art that she produces. This was quite amazing and very beautiful. I really do enjoy meeting people when you get on with them so well so quickly. I will definitely be joining the York Model Engineers Club because it's close enough to where I live to make it easy to get there, and the track and layout of the club is very good indeed. Once the COVID restrictions are lifted and we start hopefully to get back to normal, you will see quite a few videos of me running locomotives at this club. For the moment though, I've put the website address on screen. Take a look at it, you will see that it's very good indeed. They have a race track and a ground level track in multi-gauges, and also a garden railway size layout, which is very impressive. I'm almost tempted to go down this route, radio-controlled miniature steam engines. I had one of these many years ago. It was called a Roundhouse Lady Anne locomotive. Although really my first love I think is 7 1/4 inch gauge and 5 inch gauge steam locomotives. That's about it for this video. The boiler is now in the outer part of the workshop, on the painting bench, which is just my brazing hearth with a piece of plywood fitted over the top of it. I will paint it in the next episode, but that's it for this one. Stay healthy, thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful. Please take the time to visit my Main Steam Models website and click on the section of the website that says Video Playlists, and by doing that you can find other videos that you may like to watch. And by using the playlists you can actually watch the videos back to back.